Alright guys, we are now live. Make sure you check in, please. Muhammad, too late. Alright, make sure you check in, everybody, please. Faster, faster. You guys checked in already, right? Susanna? No? Let me see. Alright, we're missing Pollyanna and Marlon. No, you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe somebody was checking in at the same time, that's why. Alright, Pollyanna, Marlon, make sure your cameras are on and you're checked in so we can move forward. Muhammad's also, I have an appointment. Everybody has appointments, come on. Terrible. All right, everybody's in. Eduardo, I do have your check-in for the first class for 28, chapter 28. All right, chapter 29, real quick. New Jersey housing regulations. So we're going to talk about fair housing laws and briefly on leases. As far as fair housing laws, you guys already know what this is, right? If we talk about fair housing, we're talking about not discriminating. Simple. Okay? The difference is, New Jersey, for instance, says you cannot discriminate in any real property transactions. So federal, which we covered a few chapters ago, federal says on the sale or rental of residential property, you cannot discriminate. If it's commercial, federal says, hey, it's okay. It's commercial. Nobody cares, right? Jersey says, Jersey says, I don't care what type of property it is. If it's residential, if it's commercial, if it's industrial, recreational, we don't care. You cannot discriminate, period. That's what Jersey says right here. All property, all real property, any type of property, residential, commercial, industrial, recreational, whatever, cannot discriminate, period. Okay? All right. At the beginning of every class? All right. Protected classes. Race. Creed. When you see creed, what are we talking about, guys? What is creed? You ever see this word? What is creed? Anyone? Religion, beliefs, color, national origin, Marlon, it's a separate one, ancestry or nationality. But when you see creeds, it's your religion or beliefs. Okay, because you might not have a religion. You might, right? You might be an atheist. No religion. You're still protected from that. Nobody can discriminate. Oh, you don't believe in God? I'm not selling to you. Is your money green? Are you qualified to buy this house? Okay, if you want to pray inside the house, pray. If you don't want to pray, don't pray. Just give me my money because I'm walking out. Right? That's it. Regardless of your race, your color, your religion, your national origin, right? Your gender identity or expression. New Jersey is heavier than federal laws. Marital, civil union, domestic partner status, affectional or sexual orientation, familial status, actual or perceived physical or mental disability, including AIDS or HIV-related illness, source of lawful income, or liability for military service. So, while federal law covers race, religion, color, national origin, right? And then as of 1983 and 78 and 83, I'm sorry, covers gender, right? And disability. State law says, wait, we're going to add some more. Gender identity or expression, right? Marital, the reason why I'm going back at these is because there might be a question in the state exam regarding these. Affectional or sexual orientation. You cannot discriminate on somebody because they're like the same sex. Hey. Bottom line, and I'm sorry if anybody's going to be offended by this, what people do behind closed doors or behind open or in open doors, it's still them. As long as they don't mess with you and you don't mess with them, everybody should be okay. Simple. I don't care what you like or what you don't like. You're a person. Simple. Everybody has their opinion. Stephanie says, just don't discriminate. Yep. Period. Unfortunately, if you guys remember, for instance, steering, that happens a lot in your subconscious, right? It's not something that we're doing on purpose sometimes, right? And this is what we need to be prepared for. That's why this chapter is so important. When we did the federal and now we're doing the state chapter on discrimination, is sometimes we don't do it on purpose. Sometimes people take it the wrong way, the things that we say, even though we're not doing it on purpose. I gave you guys the example with does family count? What, discriminate against family? You can discriminate against your family. That's you. I discriminate against my family all day long. But remember when I said, just joking around with the whole commingling for mixing funds, right? I said it was like the Chinese word because of the tones to it, and that's because somebody in my class said it, and he was actually, well, he is, because I think he's still alive, but he is actually Chinese, and he said, hey, just joke around with it, right? Because I'm always joking, right? Somebody on YouTube started like, what do you mean Chinese word? I'm like, oh my God. Okay. Let me give you the backstory. People sometimes take the wrong way, even if it was not our intention. Now, granted, sometimes there's things that we say, even if it's not intentional, that might be hurtful, right? Never with the intention to discriminate, but we need to be conscious of these things, right? Sorry, you were saying? I'm going to get to the source of lawful income in a second. I'll get to that in a second. Okay. I'm going to get there. Okay. I just wanted to focus on here again, because there might be a question regarding marital status. There might be a question regarding affectional or sexual orientation. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Brenda, that shouldn't be a thing, because at the end of the day, if you're doing what's well for you, you shouldn't care what other people are doing. It's their lives and you're getting paid, so it shouldn't be a concern. It should be a concern regardless of getting paid or not. But I understand what you're saying, but shouldn't be concerned regardless. Live your life. You have your own problems to fix, and you're here concerned about somebody else's life, right? Raise your hand if you don't have any problems in your life. No, nobody? Ron's like, hey, I got no problems. Gilbert as well. Poliana, you got no problems, Poliana? All right, cool. I'm jealous of the three of you. Ron, Gilbert, and Pollyanna. We got no problems. I wake up with problems every morning. I go to sleep with problems. Sometimes the problems sleep with me. I get nightmares. Right? There's always problems. What? What do you mean doesn't happen? That people don't discriminate on these? How long have you in general? How long have you been in the United States?
7 years.
7 years, and you never saw any type of discrimination? Never. 7 years.
Gays, né? Tudo. Ao pé de mim, eu ouvisse comigo,
Okay.
eu ouço na televisão falar que acontece.
Because in real estate and in real life, unfortunately, people are dense.
No, I understand. Just why estão aqui?
Because, again, because I cannot discriminate against, for instance, there's a lot of sellers that will tell you, as an example, will tell you, hey, Susanna, you can show houses to everybody except people from this religion or people from this color. They'll tell you. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
The owners? What about the realtors themselves? You don't know, you still don't know the kinds of conversation. If you haven't heard this stuff in the general public, wait until you get involved with realtors.
Oh.
Oh. Gilbert says these are obstacles. There are obstacles, not problems. There's still problems. An obstacle is a problem if people get stuck in it. Every problem is an obstacle if people get stuck in it. The problem is people get stuck in the problem, not in the solution. That's it. Anyway, but in this case, it's a very, very serious thing because there's hefty fines. You can even lose your license and even go to jail for discrimination. Now, does that happen often, where you get the fines and go to jail? Unfortunately not, for one simple reason. People that get discriminated against usually do not complain, or there's not enough people complaining in order to be a substantial movement and action against that one person or that one group, right? Unfortunately, it's the way it is. Like this one. Since you're asking, source of lawful income. How many times have you seen ads that say 3-bedroom, 2-bath, no Section 8? For instance. Right? Section 8 is a lawful income. And you know how many people talk bad about people on welfare or Section 8? 70% of New Jersey, 70% at least of New Jersey people on Section 8 or welfare actually need it because they make less than the living income or surviving income for the state of New Jersey. Over 55% of New Jersey residents are below the poverty guideline. Over 55%. And after this was pre-pandemic. Right now I don't even know the numbers, but I'm sure it's way worse. All right? So a lot of people don't make enough, especially single parents, right? Don't make enough and they need some type of compensation. Okay. I'm not getting into the topic. I'm in the topic, right? So it is a lawful source of income. If you're making cash money, right? I have the right to say, hey, wait a minute, where's that money coming from? All right? I have the right to verify or reject that income. I cannot say no Section 8, but I can say, hey, where did that money come from? If it's not verifiable, I don't have to accept you as a tenant. Okay? Section 8, you cannot reject Section 8. For you to reject them, the only legal way to reject them is if you go down to Section 8 and say, hey, I was going to say Miss Daniels here in Newark, and say, hey, I want to opt out of Section 8. Right? So you're making a statement with Section 8 that you're not looking to house any Section 8 tenants. Other than that, you cannot reject them because they're Section 8. Government will pay you. Lawful source of income. Right? Just like a TRA, it's a temporary rental assistance. TRAs, hey, I lost my job. right? And unfortunately, I couldn't afford where I was temporarily until I find another job or until I settle, like wherever status I'm in right now, right? Until I settle, I have temporary government assistance. All right, that's a TRA. You cannot reject that either, right? Oh, this person is on food stamps, on welfare, right? Oh man, I have to reject this person because they're taking advantage of the government. Come on. Am I going to say that some people don't? So going back to what Yilver was saying, don't go into this topic. Am I going to say that some people don't take advantage? Right now, there's a lot of people taking advantage of the government benefits. They don't need the money, but they're collecting it. They're applying. Harvard University got $93 million from the PPP program, which is intended for small businesses. So go ahead. Let's talk about welfare, which represents 0.5% of the government budget. You see what I'm saying? Like that's not the real issue. It's not the welfare. It's not the Section 8. It's not the real issue with this country. But anyway, back to this. I like the way that they put statistics in front of you, though. Back to this. You cannot reject somebody based on where they are right now. What's their status in life right now. That's what it is. Next. No comments, Gilbert. The law prohibits discrimination based on the above characteristics when the landlord, real estate agent, rental agent, or seller makes available shows, lists, or sells a house, apartment, mobile home, or dwelling or commercial real estate. So, you cannot discriminate on any of these. The law also makes it illegal to advertise or make any statement directly or indirectly that expresses any limitations based on any of these characteristics in offering housing. So I cannot say no Section 8. I cannot say no children. Right? Did you guys know that one too? 3-bedroom, 2-bath, no children allowed. Right? I cannot say that. Unless, of course, right, here's the exceptions. Ready? Unless, of course, this is a 55 plus. If it's a 55 plus community, then I can either accept or reject children. It's up to the community to accept or reject children. Okay? Additional exceptions include rental of rooms. So if I'm renting a room in my apartment, I'm renting a room to somebody of the same sex, right? It's okay for me to do that. Mainly for protections, right? Rentals by religious organizations may be restricted to that same religion, and rentals in owner-occupied duplexes or up and down to family. Possibly state exam question. Rentals of two-family, whether it's up and down or side-by-side, duplex, right? These are exempt if they're owner-occupied. I can reject you based on any reason except for race. I can reject you for any reason except for race. If I live there and it's a two-family, I can reject you. If you're from a different religion, if you're from a different national origin, so a different country, right? Sorry. If it's a two-family, owner-occupied. Do you guys remember what was the exemption for federal? What was the exemption in federal? Anybody? $12 to $4. Just messing, Marlon. It's $1 to $4 actually. $1 to $4. So because you can rent rooms. And they're federal, they don't care about local laws. They tell you, hey, if you're renting rooms as well, it's okay. If you're selling the house, a single family, right, that you live in, you can discriminate. But the rentals of 1 to 4 family are exempt if it's owner occupied. If it's owner occupied. State law says 2 family only. Okay, 2 family only. That's the only time you can discriminate. And these exceptions do not apply when the real estate broker is involved. And of course, when there's race involved, there's no exemption at all. Okay? Prohibitions, if you guys remember, blockbusting. What is blockbusting? Anybody? Blockbusting. What do you guys remember about blockbusting? I don't remember that. Blockbusting, guys. Panicking? Yeah? What? Close to it. Go ahead. It's not me panicking. Inducing someone to sell. Yep. Brenda, trying to get someone to move somewhere else, make the block or community of the same race or religion, something like that. Okay. So it's scaring people or inducing somebody to sell because of the entry of particular minority groups into the neighborhood. Oh, the Muslims are coming. Oh, the Hispanics are coming. The Portuguese are coming. The Italian are coming. Sell now before they change the whole composition of the neighborhood. Right? That's what it is. Right? So it's, Marlon wrote, persuading to sell. Yep. Due to the type of neighbors, not to the neighbors moving in, the type of neighbors. So what usually realtors do in this situation, which is illegal, what they do is they're going to pick on that particular group that's moving in, that's predominantly moving in, right? Because there's always somebody moving in, different groups, right? But it's you pointing the finger and say, hey, this particular group, this is what they usually do. And if they do this and they multiply in this area, your house value is going to go down, or your house is going to get destroyed because of this, or whatever. So they try to knock on doors and say, sell now before this happens. Blockbusting. Okay? Now, for that reason, New Jersey says, in order to protect everybody, New Jersey says brokers must keep permanent records of any listing solicitations of 3 or more homeowners in the same block in the same month. Same block, same month. Okay? Getting there? Same block, same month. So if you knock on doors, or if you send mailers, or if you do cold calling, whatever it is that you're doing, and you're addressing that particular group, right? They want to know why you addressed that particular group. Was it that block, you skipped some doors because of they're from a different origin, from a different religion? Why did you skip doors? Or do you just skip doors because, for instance, our advertising, our mailers, or knock on doors, we go to people that live there for more than 7 years. Those are the most prone. So back in the day, it used to be 5 years. Now it's 7 years, 7 to 10 years. Those are most prone to sell the property because they've lived there for 7 years. The average American moves every 7 to 10 years, right? So after 7 years, we're going to see in a single block, 4 houses were bought 7+ years ago. Great. We're knocking on those 4 houses. They want to know, why did you skip the other doors? Was it because of race, religion, color, national origin, or anything like that? You got it? All right. Really? Paul Revere was a trendsetter? The British are coming. All right. Refusal to sell, rent, assign, or sublease to... Oh, by the way, you got to keep it for 1 year. Must keep her on records for 1 year. 1 year. Refusal to sell, rent, assign, or sublease to any of the protected classes as means of discrimination. Jose, panic peddling. Yes. Licensee refusal to offer property or negotiate transactions. Falsification of the availability of dwellings to any of the protected classes as means of discrimination. This happens a lot. It just happened recently. An agent that I know personally, not our agency, by the way, but an agent that I know personally, I keep on telling the story to all my classes recently because this happened again recently. The agent put an ad on Craigslist and put an ad on Facebook, right? That it was an apartment for rent in Hillside. No problem, Ron. Apartment for happy birthday. No problem. Make sure you buy a round of drinks for everybody in the class. Just take their names. Make sure you see there. Invite everybody. Just saying. All right, cool. All right, guys, remember, I have Ron's address. We can always go there for the party. Right after class. Marlon, he's not old enough for the drinks. Not Sebastian, Ron. Sebastian, Coca-Cola. That's it. He even left. Oh, he's back. Okay. Anyway, so this happened where this agent was advertising an apartment in Hillside, right? And there's a particular group of people that was very interested in Hillside, right? It's the same kind of people calling about the ad or contacting about the ad. When I say same kind of people, from the same country in this case, right? And the agent was, he was telling me the situation. Only these people are replying to the ad. The landlord does not want to rent to anybody from this particular country. I'm like, please tell me you rejected the client. Please tell me you walked away. No, I took it off market. I'm like, oh, okay, at least that. You took it off the market. Yeah, I'm going to wait a couple of days and I'm going to put it right back on. What? Yeah, because this way, I'll just say that the contract did not go through, right? And now it's back on if anybody asks. What if it's the same person? I'll say it's rented already and did not go through and I'll take it off the market again. That is blunt discrimination from both the landlord and the agent. Luckily, the broker never found out about this, luckily. Right? And he was able to walk away with it. But if the potential renters had filed a lawsuit or put a complaint against this agent, it would have been serious problems. Guys, if you have a client that intends to discriminate, walk away. Sorry, walk away. Money is green. That's the only color they have to see. That's it. Religion, it's the money that's in my pocket. That's my religion. When you're a professional in the business, I'm sorry to say this, and if it offends anybody religiously or any other way, but when you're a professional, you're licensed to represent people, not religions, not governments, not political parties, not sports clubs, not, So remember that. If you intend to discriminate because somebody is a Republican or a Democrat, you know what? In that sense, they're still not part of the exemptions. That's still not part of the exemptions. But after what's been happening over the past few years, I'm pretty sure soon enough it's going to be part of the exemptions. Right? I already hear conversations. I'm not dealing with this person because they're from that party. Oh my God. What are we getting to? Right? Crazy. Money is green. Doing the best for your client, and that green money goes into your pocket. Simple. Complaints. Do you guys remember how long do you have to put complaints or file a complaint under federal law? Under federal law, do you guys remember how long you have to file a complaint? Under state law, it's easy. It's right here. No, that's state. I just said it. I'm talking under federal. Marlon, for the win. You have 1 year to file a complaint with Housing and Urban Development, with HUD. But if you want to file a federal lawsuit or a state lawsuit, you got 2 years. For lawsuits, 2 years. For complaints with HUD, or in this case, with Division of Civil Rights, it's either 1 year for federal or 6 months for state. 1 year for federal or 6 months for state. All right? These are some of the damages if you guys intend to discriminate. If the offender is found guilty, the division director can order a cease and desist, payment for damages, pain, and humiliation. Because discrimination is humiliation, okay? And other penalties based on the complaint. Monetary penalties can amount to $10,000 for first offense, $25 for second, or $50 for a third offense. Right? Those are monetary penalties. The offender can appeal the finding within 45 days. Anyone who violates an order is committing a misdemeanor and can be fined up to $500 on top of the previous fines, and or imprisoned for up to 1 year. You can go to jail for discrimination. If it's your first time, you got a slap in the wrist and say, hey, do it again. Here's a fine. Just pay the fine. Okay? You do it again, you get suspended. You do it a third time, you get revoked. Plus the fines, plus potential jail, plus whatever the judge decides to award for pain and humiliation. You got it? Who intends to discriminate? Raise your hand. Sebastian, seriously. All right. I don't know about you, but the first time I heard about these fines, I went broke just in my thoughts. I was broke already. I'm like, oh. All right. I already don't discriminate. I definitely don't want to discriminate because I want to get into this business to make money, not to be paying, right? Anti-discrimination poster. You guys remember there's a federal poster and now there's a state poster. Okay, federal poster, there's a state poster. These posters must be available. If you guys ever come to the office, and you're welcome to come down to 18 Oliver Street. You see the address and phone number here, right? If you ever want to come down here, we have it right at the entrance. If you don't see it on the way in, you'll see it on the way out. It's in the same spot. It doesn't move, but sometimes people don't see it right when they walk in. But I have both posters, federal and state, that clearly state, guys, that you cannot discriminate. Why is that poster there? Is it for the general public? No, it's mainly a reminder to the agents that we cannot discriminate. The general public walks in and sees that, hey, you're not supposed to discriminate against me, right? So treat me the same way you treated everybody else. If they feel at any point discriminated against, they know, based on those posters, they know that they have recourse. They can go after the agent and the broker and the real estate commission. You got it? Marlon, should you advise a client that it's not? Absolutely. Absolutely. Always tell your clients. In fact, one of the things you have to do, we're going to go over that in a little bit, you have to provide to every seller, you have to provide with a memorandum. So it's a 4-page document they have to give to every seller that says, hey, you can't discriminate. New Jersey Attorney General said so. You have to. And even if you didn't have to give that paper, you should let them know money is green. All right. In addition to the provisions, New Jersey law against discrimination, I will get it for you, Gilbert. But it exists as well for New York. So, in addition to the provisions of New Jersey law against discrimination, rentals in New Jersey are subject to the following regulations. Health regulations that limit the number of persons residing in a dwelling based on the size of the dwelling. So, can you have 100 people living in the same apartment? It depends. How big is the apartment? All right? Are you going to ask about New York again, Gilbert? He's just laughing. I could tell you a joke, but then I'll get sued instantly about New York in basements. Anyway, so New Jersey, there's one of the things we can't do, and let me come down here to this one. I cannot reject you or put something in the lease based on the potential birth of a child. So I rent the apartment to two of you, right? All of a sudden there's a third. Can I kick you out? In the lease, I cannot have something that says, oh, there's a baby, the lease is over, get out. I cannot do that. But if my apartment is not suitable, the one I'm renting to you, if it's not suitable, right, to have or it doesn't have an extra bedroom, right, then I can, by law, I can give you some time, right? Usually we give you 6 months, for instance, 6 months to find other accommodations. Because this apartment, congratulations on your baby, but this apartment is no longer suitable for you. State regulations and federal regulations say that a baby can live with you in your room for up to 6 months. After 6 months, the baby needs to have their own room. Unless you're a single parent, then it could go up to 5 years. Did Jose just write Hobbits? Jose, did you really write Hobbits? I guess for the 100 people in the apartment. Anyway. No discrimination against hobbits, okay, Lord of the Rings? All right, next. Prospective tenants can be rejected. Can be rejected if the landlord determines that they're unable to pay the rent based on their credit rating or their income. If I don't have anything solid that says you got good credit, so you're responsible, right? And you have income and I can see it, I can reject you. Oh, but I make $10,000 a week. Hey, listen, I don't care how you make the $10,000 a week. If I cannot verify it, it's not real to me. All right? And this is to protect yourselves. A lot of people can claim whatever they want. They might even make the $10,000 a week, legally, lawfully, right? But if I can't verify it, it doesn't exist. You want to prepay me for the whole year? Not a problem then, I'll take it. Now it's guaranteed that you qualify. Does that make sense? Prepay me the whole year and we're good. All right. 2 members of the same sex must be accepted in a 1-bedroom dwelling if the two people of opposite sex would be accepted for the same dwelling. So again, what happens behind closed doors is for the tenants, it's not for you. So rent it. If they can afford it, if they have a good credit and they have income, why not? All right? Simple as that. Speaking of that,
How about this allowed by the law?
how about marijuana? What do you mean? What are you talking about? No, I know what that is, but I'm just saying, like, what do you mean?
Because about
We have a weed question. Give me a second. Caught my attention.
about 4 years ago, I had a roommate. She's 2 years age, and she started.
So you were living in Newark,
Yeah.
and you had a roommate that was smoking weed. Typical. Next.
Yeah, and I said, you can do that here.
Uh-huh.
And then she said, of course I can. And by the time I did not say anything.
Okay.
And then after she left my apartment, okay, it wasn't my apartment. I was the lease and I was subleasing.
Okay, so the lease was under your name and she was your roommate that you were subleasing to.
Exactly.
Okay, so you were illegal and she was illegal doing the stuff in the house. Got it.
No, I wasn't doing it, but she was doing it.
No, she was doing it, but you subleased. Did you have authorization from the landlord to sublease? Her name was on it or no?
No.
If it's not in writing, it does not exist. Good luck taking it to court. But go ahead.
Verbal, just verbal.
Yeah, because you cannot rent rooms.
My question is, there is a little law that's somewhere somehow that's saying something about if it's allowed or not inside the apartment, the house, whatever.
There's nothing wrong with it inside the house if the landlord accepts it.
Yeah. You don't accept, but she said yes.
Personal consumption was never the issue. The issue is how much do you have it and can it show intent of reselling it? Okay, so if you're selling it illegally, then yeah, that's the problem. But inside the house, did you ask your landlord if he wanted to partake? Like, hey, you want some? Maybe you're good with that. Some landlords might say yes, some landlords might say no. You just cannot grow it, because then it shows intention of selling it, right? No, there's nothing wrong with consuming it. That's why now it's legal, medical, and recreational as of this year. Okay, but again, the landlord can say no. Unless you have some type of disability that requires you to have it, right? Then that's where the landlord cannot reject you. But if it's owner occupied, the landlord can reject you. So it's a tricky situation.
But it's not a right.
If it's not what?
It's not a right. She didn't have right.
No.
That's why.
You have actually, it's my house. You have no rights unless we have it in agreement.
All right, gotcha. That's
You have the right to pay me, and I have the right to allow you to be there. And you have the right for me to maintain the property in habitable condition for you. Other than that, that's it. Rights are gone. We went over this in leases. So, and you have to think about the things that could affect the property. Property value in this case. Mm-hmm. Exactly. If it's carpet, it could be smelly. Yeah. And I could actually charge you on the way out. I could charge you for cleaning the carpet. Yeah. All right. Cool. Listen, it's just like smokers, regular smokers. No offense if you're a regular smoker, but it's the same thing. When you smoke, it smells bad to the people that don't smoke. Right? I'm not defending the whole weed or not weed. I'm not defending the whole tobacco or not tobacco. It's just that one, they found a way to legalize it a long time ago, just like alcohol, and causes a lot of deaths, over the years. And then the other one, they finally legalized it and found a way to capitalize on it. It's all about taxes. It's not about your rights. Anyway, I'm gonna get sued one of these days. Moving forward. Look, it's your body. I'm not for it or against anything that you do to your body because it's you. Period. That part we shouldn't be controlled. Something that could affect somebody else because of your actions, that's a different story. Right? But whatever injuries you're doing to your body, if they allow you to drink, right? As long as they see ID, they allow you to drink, they allow you to smoke, everything else is the same. Me drinking does not affect you. My actions for drinking too much could affect you. All right. Anyway, moving forward. Service dogs. Okay. We can say no pets, but we cannot say no service dogs or guides or service dogs. We cannot say no to that. So, where pets are not allowed, service dogs must be allowed. Remember that one. Okay. Complex that has 25 plus. We have to file an annual report. Remember this one. If there's 25 or more units in my building, I have to file an annual report. Okay? This annual report will cover the tenant's racial makeup and my type of advertisement and response to inquiries. Okay? I'll address that question in a second. So, you got to remember this one. 25 or more units in a single building, 25 or more units, I have to keep a racial composition, right, of the type of people that I have in the building and how do I advertise. For instance, and I'm going to go with common sense, I give the same example always. If your building is in a predominantly Hispanic area, right, what is most likely going to be, by logic, what is most likely going to be the composition of the building? Hispanic, right? Because it's in the predominantly Hispanic. Just like if we go here to Ironbound a few years ago, not as much now, it's a predominantly Portuguese area. So what do you think you're going to have in the building? Predominantly Portuguese, right? The question now is, How am I advertising? Am I advertising just to the Hispanic community? Just to the Portuguese community? Just for the French? Just for the... How am I advertising? Right? Or how am I choosing my tenants? How do I respond when people call me and say, hey, I want to rent? Oh, no. You speak English. Get out. Next. Right? Is that what I'm doing? Because if that's the case, then it's discrimination. So that's why we have to, New Jersey requires you, if you have 25 or more, to file an annual report with all the names of your tenants and the racial composition, right? How you're advertising and what's your response to inquiries. All right, let me address what's the question I have here. Stephanie, it says, is an emotional support animal considered a service dog? No, but the rules have changed, so there's not going to be not in these exams, following exams, but if you go search New Jersey LAD, Law Against Discrimination, if you go search, December we had actually a training on this. So this was changed to pets, emotional support pets. You actually are protected as well to a certain extent. So for state exam, this will be the question. For real life, go search where you're protected, right? And by the way, your boyfriend or husband does not count, or wife does not count as an emotional support. So the landlord might or might not allow. No, a pet cannot be a human being. Listen, some people get into freaky stuff, so just saying. I've seen people with collars, so yeah, you never know. All right, Yilbert's like, where do I get that for New York? Anyway, it's the funniest thing. In 2001, I went to work for an insurance company, and about a year later, Cheryl, her name, came to work in the same department as me, right? And she had this thing around. I thought it was just like a band or something she had. Then she was trying to explain to me what it was. My master, and I'm like, what? I was fresh in the United States, so my English was good, but not that good to understand that you could have a master. Yeah, I'm a slave. I have my master. I'm like, Cheryl, nice to meet you. We'll talk in a couple of months. She used to sit right next to me. Too complicated for me to understand. But that's what it is. Some people have that type of relationship. They're not boyfriend, girlfriend, or boyfriend and boyfriend or whatever. They're just masters. Crazy. Stephanie, she was oversharing a bit. Yeah. She was very open about her conversations. Yes. I'll put it like that. Very interesting. Gilbert, what happens if the owner is allergic to dogs? My master. Yeah. What happens if the owner is allergic to dogs? Then, well, that's a different story. At that point, there's a medical condition. You're not discriminating because, hey, no pets or whatever. You're just like, I can't have pets, right? And of course, it goes both ways. For HIPAA regulations, you cannot ask for that information, right? If there's a lawsuit, then that's a different story. But if there's no lawsuit, I cannot say, well, show me where you're allergic to dogs, Mr. Landlord. No, right? The same way, tenant, show me that you need an emotional support pet. I cannot do that either, right? Yes.
But it's like, I think it's legal in the owner got in contract. I don't accept, not just because
Wait.
I don't like.
I can say that, but not if it's a guide or service dog. So if you're in the military and you have a service dog, or if you're blind and you have a guide dog, I have to accept it.
Yes.
Other than that, I can reject and put in the lease. Yes.
You can.
Yep.
You put in the contract.
I can even charge you a fee, a pet fee, pet deposit, and monthly additional fee to the lease, except for guide or service dogs.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yes, I can say no pets.
You can.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's legal.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, zoning discrimination. Guys, we talked about this on the national side. Mount Laurel, state of New Jersey, was the first law when it comes to what we're going to talk about. And most cities across the country, so even counties and states adopted this, now have to follow this. What do you guys remember about Mount Laurel? Anybody? Without reading. What do you remember about Mount Laurel and discrimination? Without reading. I say without reading, everybody goes like flipping pages. Without reading, Mount Laurel. Okay, this is very important that it triggers. You guys need to understand how to pass the exam. You need to find trigger words. Okay, so try to eliminate the lower class. Okay, Marlon, great. They didn't try to eliminate the lower class. They didn't go kill him. Okay, but they did try to exclude. Okay, exclude. That's why we have what's called exclusionary zoning. Try to eliminate the lower. You're poor. Boom, boom. Exterminate. Okay, it's called exclusionary zoning. We're excluding the poor families. Okay, so Mount Laurel, what you need to remember, right here, what you need to remember is poor. Right here, low and moderate income. So immediate, when we talk about Mount Laurel, when you see the word Mount Laurel in the state exam, school or state exam, when you see the word Mount Laurel, remember, poor. Okay? If you're moderate or low income, you're considered poor to the people that were ruling the town. They said, oh, no. Right? Moderate income, not enough to be in our status. We're elite. They're not. So we're going to eliminate them, says Marlon. Off with their head. Anyway. So in 1975, Jose, perfect. Municipalities must provide housing for low-income families. So as of now, 1975, the court ruled, Supreme Court ruled, that every municipality must accommodate for low and moderate income. But I think you guys can guess by Mount Laurel 1, right? I think you guys can guess that Mount Laurel did not listen, did they? If it says Mount Laurel 1, then obviously there must be a Mount Laurel 2. So yes, in 1983, they got sued again. Why? Because they didn't care, just like a lot of people don't care about what the government says or what the courts say. Like, it's my house. I do whatever I want, right? I don't care about other people. I care about me, right? So they got sued again. At this time, Supreme Court ruling said that every single municipality, just a quick correction here, every single developing municipality, right, must provide for the fair share of original needs for all levels of housing. So, if you are a developer and you go to the city and say, hey, I want to build 100 units here, as an example, I found a lot, this is where I want to build. Municipality must see, do we have, with plus 100 units, do we have the original needs? Do we have a 20% set aside, right, for low and moderate income? If we do not, then we must tell this developer that part of his building with 100 units, part of the building must accommodate for low and moderate income. Believe it or not, even the city of Newark got sued. Right? A lot of people think Newark, think low income, moderate income, right? The city of Newark got sued in 2014 for not providing enough low and moderate income housing. Now, where did this lawsuit come from? The new developments that were approved were all luxury developments. And that would drive everybody away. Okay? So the new luxury developments, if you guys ever look into the city of Newark and the newer developments, right? When you go there, you can say, hey, where are your lower income apartments? And they'll tell you. We do have a couple, 10, 15, 20 apartments that are for low and moderate income. They have to. So it comes down to the city. If they approve a development, they have to also check the percentage of housing for low and moderate income. Okay? Jose said mentality. It's illegal only if I get caught. That's true. So true. The problem, Jose, is that when you steal, right? When you go rob a bank, it feels good the first time that you did not get caught. So what do people do? This is the stupid mentality of everybody that tries to commit a crime, right? Or tries to lie. They do it again. Until they get caught, they keep on doing it and doing it and doing it, and then, boom, got caught. Right? It's just the way it is. And we realtors do the same, unfortunately. All right, you guys got that, right? All right, we covered this under federal. I want to go to the state only. Covered. Testing. Go to page 459, leases. 459. Leases. Jose says adrenaline rush addictive. That's right. That's why I stopped robbing banks, because it was too much adrenaline. Everybody looked for that one. Like, what? Yeah. I was robbing my bank all the time. My account was 0. It was the only account I could get to, and it felt so good. Money went in, and I'm like, whoops, taking it out. Huh? That's true. Are you alright? Just because I talked about robbing a bank, you leaving? And you put your mask on?
Because I wish I keep so worse.
I'm just messing with you. This looks like what we just reviewed in the last chapter. Yes, great. So Stephanie, I see you got company. So that is great that you paid attention to this. Oh, whoever it is, it's fired. I don't care. This is related to leases. A lease is a contract, right? So in the state of New Jersey, for a lease, it's exactly the same requirements. This is a legally binding lease, right? And it gives us an opportunity for attorney review, right? Within 3 business days. Jose says construction project manager by trade. There you go. So you know what I'm talking about. So within 3 business days. So within 3 business days, what can we do, guys? Who can tell me? Within the 3 business days. What can we do? Dispute the contract. Why are you disputing? Why are you so aggressive? Dispute the contract. Seriously. Consult with an attorney. Yes. It's the attorney review clause. Within 3 business days, you can study the contract with the attorney, and you start counting the time. When? When do you start counting the 3 business days? When? Louder. When both party receives a copy of the signed contract. Very good. So whether it's a lease or a contract, the conditions are the same. Stephanie just switched to 3 business. Okay. The 3 business days start. 3 business days start because attorneys might not work Saturday and Sunday. So 3 business days start after both parties received a signed copy. Yes. Very good. And they don't dispute, they disapprove, Sebastian. Notice of disapproval. There's no disputing of a contract. We're not going to fight over this right now. We'll dispute later. Very good. All right, statute of frauds, guys. We just covered this in the previous chapter. Standard lease provisions. At the bottom of page 460, standard lease provisions. This must be in every single lease. And if you guys remember, we talked about this in the uniform lease in the national portion of leases, right? So basic stuff. The term. When we're talking about term of the tenancy, what are we talking about? Term, Stephanie, means what? Term of tenancy. What does it mean? Anybody? Duration, yes. So duration or period of time. So time of tenancy. How long are you going to stay here? Is this a 1-year lease, right? Is this a month to month, right? What is the term, right? So term of tenancy and term of lease both of them have to do with the method, the time, and the method of how this lease is going to run. If it's a month to month, it automatically renews, right? If it's specific period of time, right, then it ends automatically. Okay.
Have a contract here.
When it ends,
Or
it's your option. It's your option between you and the landlord, but automatically terminates. Yes.
yeah, but if I want to stay and the owner said, yeah, it's okay for me, I need another contract.
That's up to you and the landlord.
Okay.
That contract automatically terminates and you're supposed to leave.
Okay.
Then it's up to you and the landlord
Okay.
to either determine if you're going to renew for another year or if it becomes a month to month.
Okay. Okay. And my contract, but I don't renew and the owner don't send.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I can stay and for a year.
So no.
Is grandfather?
No. So technically, that's what I'm saying. So technically, once it expires,
Okay.
it's you're either at sufferance or you're at will. At sufferance, you're supposed to have left and the landlord already got somebody to move in.
Mm-hmm.
At will, hey, as long as you keep on paying, I don't care, you don't care, we're good. Right? It becomes a month to month, or you could renew for another year, depending on what the conditions of the contract say.
Pois é, isso que eu estou a perguntar. O meu contrato
It depends on the contract.
não diz nada. Era de ano. Acabou. Ele não disse nada. Eu não disse
Okay.
nada, eu estou lá.
Then most likely it became a month to month.
Month to month?
That's what it should be. So now at this point, if you want to leave, you have to give a 30-day notice, 1 month's notice, I'm sorry. There's a difference between this. So you got to give 1 month's notice
That's
that you want to leave, or the landlord has to give you 1 month's notice for you to leave. Yeah.
not a year. Not contract.
No, you cannot renew automatically unless it was clearly stated there was a year-to-year lease. In this case, it was a 1-year lease, right? And if the provisions of the lease don't say anything else, then you keep on paying or they force you to leave because it ends that day. As far as rent payments, every lease agreement must state exactly what's the amount of rent. When do you have to pay the rent, right? A grace period and something about late fees if you pay late, right? So every lease must talk about this, except for seniors on Social Security, right? If you're on Social Security or any government pension, they cannot charge you late fees until 5 days later. So if your lease says at the first of the month I got to get paid, right? Then that's what the lease says. If you're a senior on Social Security or in the government pension, even though the lease says due on the 1st, right? You still have 5 days to pay. Only for this group of people. You got to remember that for state exam. Okay? Security deposit. State of New Jersey says the max that you can charge is a month and a half rent as deposit. The maximum that you can charge in New Jersey is 1.5 months as deposit for residential. For commercial, there's no law for that. You can charge a whole year of deposit if you want. Okay? What happened? For residential. As a deposit, not rent payments.
I see houses 2.5, 3 months. But it's not legal.
So let me clarify something. I can give you 1.5 months rent plus the first month. So that's 2.5, right? But 1.5 month rent is the security deposit must be put aside, right? And you're giving me 1 month before you move in.
Yeah, of course.
That's it. If they charge you more than that, that's illegal.
Okay.
It's the Gilbert's family renting here in New Jersey.
Okay. But
They charge 3 months rent.
no.
New Yorkers.
No. Here,
He's like,
when
yeah.
When I'm looking for the rent house, that's me 3 months.
Yeah.
After the first month.
So look, I'm joking around, obviously, but this is the importance of you guys, realtors, knowing that every state has different rules. So in New York, you can go up to 3 months in security deposit, as an example, right? But if you're helping a New Yorker invest in New Jersey because they want to be landlords in New Jersey, because there's a great opportunity in New Jersey, you have to let them know, hey, there's a few differences between New York law and New Jersey law. One of them is the maximum that you can charge for a deposit is 1.5 months. Realtors, you have to. Otherwise, if they cannot rent to anybody, because nobody has the 3 months deposit, if they cannot rent to anybody, they can sue you for not disclosing the information. Got it? Okay, cool. All right. The lease must also state, as you guys know, the intended use of the deposit. The deposit is for final repairs, for loss of compensation. So if you did not pay the rent, or if you were late on the rent or something like that, I can take it out of secure deposit. How and when it will be returned, this is key. All right. For instance, you must return the deposit within 30 days of the lease expiration date, minus. This is key. We talked about this in a different chapter, right? Itemized damages. So if I'm supposed to return $2,000 to you, but I keep the whole $2,000, I have to tell you exactly why I kept the $2,000. I kept the $2,000 for carpet, which costs $100 to clean. $1,600 to paint because you damaged all the walls, and so on. You actually now owe me money versus me owing you money. So itemized deductions. And look what it says. You cannot include normal wear and tear. What does that mean? If a faucet is now leaky because of the constant opening and closing, that's wear and tear. If there's smudges on the wall, right, it's normal wear and tear. Damage to the wall is not normal. Damage to the carpet is not normal. But if there's smudges on the wall, you have to paint it. That's your obligation. So painting normal stuff, like I didn't change the color, right? So I gave you off-white and you gave it to me off-white with smudges, I have to paint. But if I gave it to you off-white and now all of a sudden it's blue, as you guys see right behind me, right? Then that's not normal. That's not how I gave it to you, right? So now the landlord, for instance, can charge us here. This is, for those of you that have not been here, there's an actual blue wall, right? Not just a screen that I put in front of you. This is actually blue right here. They don't see it. They see it, right? So it went from off-white to blue. At the end, I have to either return in the same condition that they gave it to me, right? Or I know that it's going to be deducted from the security deposit, right? Let's see here. Gilbert. when I move, I got a realtor. I needed 3 down payments plus her payments, and then she wanted me to pay another month because the listing was under. Now I see why you're getting your license, man. So Gilbert just said, when I moved, I got a realtor. They wanted 3 months as deposit, right? Plus the realtor payments, because it was the tenant's responsibility. And then she wanted to pay another month because the listing was under her friend from another agency.
5 months is crazy.
Did you? Oh, you didn't? Okay.
Of course not.
Because I was going to say, I'll get you to buy a house tomorrow, man. With all that money, all that deposit, you qualify for a conventional loan. That was like $12K, yeah? You're buying a $300,000 house. That's what it is. Right there. All right. If the landlord does not return to you the money, minus itemized deductions, explanation why the money, right? Then you have the landlord is responsible to give you double the amount of deposit. So in this case, hey Gilbert, you would have won on this one. Imagine if you gave 3 months, right? And then they don't give you the money back. You charge 6 months. Because of New York, I started buying houses. Yeah, that movement was good. Still is. Earn interest rates. Here's another thing. Do you guys know that the deposit money is supposed to be put in a separate interest-bearing account? All right. And that money belongs to whom? Who does the interest belong to? To the tenant. Exactly. Guys, both the deposit and the interest must be set aside and given to the tenant. You cannot use their money. That's called also commingling. And if you use the money, if you leave it in your regular account, it's commingling. And if you use the money, it's called conversion. It applies the same way. Any money that's supposed to be on an escrow account or a separate account, right? That must be used for deposits only, right? If it goes into your account, then it's commingling. If you use the money, it's called conversion. That's illegal. In fact, the tenants must receive information of where the deposit is going to be held. Okay? All right, next. Rules. What the tenant is allowed to do in the unit, we already went over this in the national portion. What utilities they have to pay, trash disposal, and so on. In New Jersey, if the landlord furnishes heat or provides heat to the building, if it's the landlord's responsibility, not yours, the landlord must maintain room temperatures at 68 degrees or more from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. and 65 degrees from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. between October 1st and May 1st. You have to maintain minimum those temperatures. Anything below those temperatures is a potential lawsuit. Repairs and maintenance. New Jersey recognizes the right to repair and deduct. So if they do not repair, you can repair yourself, deduct from the rent. Okay? If the property is not in a habitable status, you can do what? If it's not in a habitable status, what can you do? Say that again? Not constructive eviction. Very good. Whipping just helped you. And Stephanie says sue in big capital letters. I had a student once that was her name became Sue because every other thing was Sue. Right? Eduardo, walk away. Exactly. That's constructive eviction. Very good. All right, we just went over this. We're good. We're good. We're good. Next page. Who knows what this is? Truth in renting. Without reading. Who received this before? That's the book you're talking about?
Yeah, right. The book.
Book. It's a booklet. Stephanie says being honest about liabilities, like a little disclosure. No. Well, close, maybe. I don't know. Anybody else? Truth in renting. Without reading. Following the contract? Well, the contract is based on this, so yes, I guess. You can say that too. You're going to write this. Truth in renting booklet must be given to tenants. Truth in renting booklet must be given to tenants. Stephanie says it just tells you your rights. Not it just tells you, it tells you your rights and obligations and duties, right? But for both sides. The truth in renting is actually updated annually, right? It's updated annually, and it talks about, informs the residential tenants and landlords of their rights and responsibilities. So everything that we just talked about, both in the national portion and now in the state, everything we talked about the maximum secure deposit, about eviction process, about causes for eviction, stuff like that is going to be in this booklet. So the landlord, for instance, cannot kick you out without going to court. That's in the booklet. The tenant cannot just do whatever they want, right? Like destroying the property, for instance, or being loud, right? Because they're paying rent. So the booklet must be given to every single residential tenant. In fact, it must even be posted in the building. In the building. It must be visible. Failure to do so could result in a penalty of up to $100 for each offense. Right? I know it's not much, $100. I get it, right? Some people are like, well, if I get fined, I get fined. Nobody's going to complain. But it's very important you guys know this so you don't waste your time. In fact, everybody, if you're a landlord, you should download this. If you're a tenant, you should download this. I gave this booklet right here, I gave it to my office manager when he was dealing with my tenants for my properties. I told him, look, here you go. If they do any of these, call Stanley. Stanley is our attorney just for evictions. That's all he does. Right? Great attorney, very price sensible. Very good. Anyway, so again, you have to have this. And it was great for my office manager to understand what he can and cannot do with the tenants. To what extent does he have to accommodate the tenant? For instance, for non-payment of rent, automatically says, go to court. If they're not paying, we don't have to give notice. We don't have to say anything. We're just like, you're supposed to pay by the 5th. On the 6th, guess what happens? At the end of the 5th day, my office manager is already sending an email. Unit whatever on the property whatever did not pay. Guess what happens? Like, of course, if you called us and say, hey, having a little difficulty or something happened tomorrow, I'm going to get it, right? Not a problem. But no communication? Yeah, you're going to get a letter from the attorney, and now you have the attorney fees on top of the late fees on top of the rent, right? I'm not that bad of a landlord, so you guys know, but this is a business and I have to protect myself, of course, right? There's bills to be paid. So yes, I gave you, even though I don't have to give you 5 days, I give you 5 days. At the end of the 5th day, no payment. 6th day, here's a letter from the attorney. Simple. Sorry. And I have that right. But again, right there. That document is given to all the tenants. It's placed on the properties, right? And even the office manager has it. Very, very important. So yeah, this requirement applies to property with 2 or more units. 2 or more units. Okay. All right. Next, we have ADA. You guys remember ADA, right? Americans with Disability Act. ADA applies to people obviously with disability. But do you guys remember what type of property falls under ADA? Got to remember, there's 3 things to remember about ADA. One of them is for people with disability. 1. Number 2, what type of properties? And number 3, the obligation that the landlord has when it comes to this. So, ADA. Scratch rental. If you want to say rental, say 5 units or more. Okay, so ADA is for people with disabilities. It applies to commercial property, okay, or 5+ units. 5+ units. Commercial property or 5+ units, right? And you have to have reasonable accommodations, if you guys remember. Reasonable accommodations. What reasonable accommodation means is that I don't have to retrofit my whole building or restructure the whole building because of one person in a wheelchair, right? But what I have to do is if I have an elevator, I have to put auditory signals. So something that if somebody's blind, right, it's cheap for me to do, like $1,000 or $2,000, and I install a bling to open up the doors so people know, hey, elevator's here, right? Another thing is replace the buttons from the elevator to have braille marking, so if you're blind, you can feel which number you're going to go to, for instance, right? If you're on the ground floor, it's easy to install a ramp most of the times for people in wheelchairs, right? If you have parking or if you offer parking, it's easy and cheap to put a sign that says handicap parking only. Reasonable accommodations. So ADA does not require me to spend millions of dollars redoing a whole building. But it does require me to provide something that was reasonable, that could be achievable at low cost. Okay? Yes. If you have parking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do I have all? I think no, I'm gonna separate only 3, or by law has to be something.
Well, reasonable. If you have 100 parking spots and you only provide 1 handicap,
but if I want, I can, right?
Yeah.
All right.
You can still get sued because it's not reasonable. All right, and I'm telling you right now, Brenda, did I cover it? Sorry, I saw you wrote. Can you repeat that? Did I cover it? Okay. So I've mentioned it in the past, like ShopRite in Clark, for instance. You get out of the Parkway, there's a ShopRite right there, and one of the funniest things is that the handicap parking, right, is completely away from the doors. It makes no sense, right? The thing that they have right by the doors is the 15-minute pickup, or I forgot what's the other one that's right by the door. And then the handicap, you keep going further down, and there's a little hill actually, right, where there's another door, another entrance. Yes, but why would you put the handicap there, thus handicap, right, down the hill, right? Why would you do that when you have a leveled surface where you can use for handicapped people? And they only have 4 or 5 handicap spots for like 100 parking spaces, if not more. To me, it makes no sense. Did they get sued yet? I have no idea. They haven't changed it from the last time I was there, and I've been seeing this for at least, I don't know, 6 or 7 years.
Well, they still can
it's not just about the falling, it's the difficulty for somebody that's handicapped. It's a difficulty.
Only to be, there's a way to prove that I can sue people.
You forgot you're in the United States of America? I don't have to prove a way that I can sue. I can sue, and then they have to prove a way of not losing the case. It's, by the way, it's not something against the United States. What I just said is that in this country, it's so easy to sue. Somebody sued because of a hot fry. Somebody sued because of a hot coffee while they were driving, drinking the coffee, doing the makeup. No offense, yes, it was a woman in this case. It's just an example, right? And they still were able to sue and win against the company because the coffee was too hot, right? Or somebody suing, this is the most ridiculous one to me, suing the fast food chains because their fast food, makes people fat. I'm like, yeah, it's fast processed food. So now they have to have a label of how many calories and exactly all the components of the meal, as an example. So you can sue for whatever you want. Stop looking at me like that. I'm going to sue you. Right? Tell me this is not true. I'm not saying this in a bad way, but it's just like bankruptcy. Like bankruptcy here, you do a Chapter 7, you're free to go. In Portugal, for instance, you go through bankruptcy, it's a negative remark for the rest of your life. It's not like a 7-day period. It's like for the rest of your life and until you pay it back. Like you don't get cleared like that. Here, every 7 years, file a Chapter 7 and reset your life. That's it. That's what Chapter 7 is for. Every 7 years, reset your life. And here it's okay. What? You kidding me? After 6 months, you're getting offers to buy a car because they know you can't you can't go into bankruptcy again after 6 months. After 2 years, you can buy a house already.
Exactly.
Credit cards, yeah, between the credit cards and car loans, 6 months you start getting all these offers.
Wow.
Gilbert, those people need to move to the Dominican Republic and try to sue. Oh yeah,
In 2 years?
anywhere else you cannot sue. It's tough.
Are you sure? Oh. Because my husband
Lawsuit Happy Nation, Jose says. Yep.
have 7 years and can out except the credit and past 7 years.
You're
You said,
going to the wrong bank.
eu disse, eu acho isso estranho.
After 2 years you can.
Eu estou a ouvir agora.
But also you have to build your credit. I don't know what you're doing, obviously. It's not just after 2 years you can buy a house, you have to have a credit score.
Yeah, but don't have credit.
Then that's the thing. You didn't qualify because you didn't build credit. After 6 months of a bankruptcy, you can start building credit. After 1 year of bankruptcy, you could be in the 700s again.
2 years?
Anyway, all right, going back to this.
Agora também já não importa.
Rent control. You guys know what rent control is? Anybody? Rent control? Exactly. So
Tem preço.
a set price for rents. Okay. So it's not exactly that 100%, but it's how much can you increase yearly on the rent. So state of New Jersey, so you guys know, has no rent control. State of New Jersey has no rent control. Rent control law in New Jersey just says reasonable increases are allowed. What is reasonable increase? So every person is different. To the landlord, it's reasonable to increase $500, right, a month. For the tenant, $10 is already too much, right? So what's reasonable? Now, only a few municipalities in the state of New Jersey actually have rent control. So they bring this to the municipalities. About a quarter of the state has rent control. This is why you guys need to know the rules in every state. In every municipality. Now, why would you know the rules in every municipality? It makes no sense unless you're having clients in those areas, right? And that's why I always tell everybody, start focusing on a particular area, become the best in that area, and then you can move on to another one. Become the best at something and then start expanding. But in the beginning, every realtor does this. In the beginning, I'm a New Jersey realtor. North to south, east to west, I'm a New Jersey realtor. And you take everything, right? Until you realize, oh, in this town you have to do this. In that town you have to do that. Oh, I wasn't aware. Because every municipality is different. Okay? Unless it's in Newark. What do you mean? Oh, Bruno's territory. Yeah, you cannot be in Newark. I got you. Yeah, no. Newark is my territory. That's it. So, big warning. Thanks, Sebastian, for reminding me of this. So, for YouTubers and Zoomers and Presential, sorry, New Jersey is my territory. Newark is my territory. That's it. Find another markets to go to. Brenda, first place I'm gonna go to. It's taken. Sorry. Gilbert says we won't have a problem. What's your market gonna be? If I'm selling, you're buying? All right. I like that. All right. We cover that. If you want to terminate a lease, we talked about this a few moments ago. No notice is required for an estate for years. If it's a tenancy at will, 3 months. 3 months notice for an estate from year to year. 1 month notice for month to month. 1 week notice for week to week, and 90-day notice by a survivor of deceased tenant. So these are just some rules, not heavily tested except for the no notice for estate for years. Because an estate for years, it's a definite period of time. Right? Jose says, not even with a kickback. No, sorry, man. No kickbacks. Nope. Sorry. Leases do not terminate with the sale of the property. You guys got to know this. We mentioned this also in the national side of it. When there's a sale of the property, whether it's a regular sale or foreclosure sale, the tenant that has a valid lease continues to have a valid lease, but only meaning the terms of the lease continue with different people. Meaning the landlord, the new landlord, cannot kick you out and cannot alter the prices until the lease expires. Once the lease expires, let's say it's another 3 months left, then they can charge you an additional rent. That's called a rent increase. How much can they increase? Well, we just talked about it. There's no rent control in the majority of the municipalities in New Jersey. So they can increase 3%. They can increase 50%. It all depends on what the municipality allows or not. Okay. Reasons for eviction. For instance, if you are, so it depends on the cause, if you are destroying the property or you're being loud or doing whatever your roommate was doing without permission, I got to give you 3 days notice. Hey, stop it or I'll take you to court to get you out. 1 month's notice for breaking the rules of the lease. 2 months for the landlord to move into the unit. 3 months for the landlord to shut down or demolish the building. 18 months for the landlord to retire the building from residential use. So if you're going to convert it to something else. The landlord may not evict the tenant except for one of the following good causes. I cannot kick you out unless you stop paying the rent, you continue to disorderly conduct, damage the property, violation of rules, violation of the lease, illegal activities in public housing, failure to pay the rent increase, landlord housing or health code violations, landlord retiring the building from residential use, failure to accept lease changes, consistent late payments. So yes, if you keep on paying me late, I can evict you. Okay? Building conversion to condo, landlord to live in the units, loss of a tenant's job tied to the rental unit. So superintendent, for instance, you're fired. By the way, get out. That's what it is. Tenant's drug activity. We even do this straight. Tenant's drug activity, theft, assault, or conviction of a drug offense. Tenant's conviction of assault or threats to the landlord. You can get kicked out or evicted because of those. An illegal eviction is a criminal offense. Who can tell me what is an illegal eviction? Anybody? Illegal eviction. Taking matters into your own hands. That's what it is. So illegal eviction is evicting you without court order, locking out the tenant. So changing the locks, right? Shutting off utilities. You don't pay me? No water for you. No heat for you in the middle of winter. Threatening the tenant. Gilbert, that would be me. That's it. I can no longer allow you to move forward and get your license, man. That statement alone, you're done. That's it. You're going to find Gilbert on the news. Putting the tenant's property outside the unit. That will be Gilbert. Like open the doors, take everything out, throw it out the window. Right? Or holding the tenant's property to obtain the rent. I got your PS5. Pay my rent. You see that happening in Patterson? Yeah, man. Happens all the time. Happens in Newark, happens in Elizabeth, happens in Patterson, Clifton, everywhere. Come on. Anyway. All right, state of New Jersey. If you say, I'm leaving in 30 days, and you don't leave, okay, the tenant is responsible for double the rent. You guys remember when the landlord was responsible for double the deposit? Well, tenant in this case is double the rent. You said you're going to leave and you're still here? I want double the rent. Simple.
When you say, you said...
You gave me notice. You told me, Lena, that, hey, Bruno, I'm leaving next month. Thank you so much. I'm leaving next month. Huh?
This is verbal.
Well, should you have things verbal?
No.
Okay, so you give me a written notice
Alright.
that you're going to leave.
Alright. So I can only take action as to writing no.
It's not that you can only take actions against written notices. You can take action against verbal notices as well. It's just it's more difficult to prove. But if I gave you a notice, I said I'm going to leave in 30 days, right? And I'm still there. It's the same thing as going to Airbnb or going to a resort or whatever, right? You said you're going to leave by Sunday. What are you still doing here? It's Tuesday already, right? I'm not going to charge you the package deal. I'm going to charge you the daily rate, which is sometimes double of the package deal. Do you understand? So it's just a fine. That's all it is.
But still have a question about it. Let's say you're the landlord.
I'm the landlord, okay.
Yes, and I'm the tenant. If I just call you and say something like that, oh, I'm leaving about in 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
You, because you're the landlord and you are like, thinking about the possibility that I'm
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna type or ask your agent or your broker or whatever to type a contract that I said that and then you're gonna bring it to me to sign? How this happen?
Obviously, okay. So again, if there's a verbal anything,
Right.
the follow-up should be in writing. So I should, okay, you said you're going to leave. Here's a piece of paper that says you acknowledge that you're leaving in 30 days. Please sign here. Or by the terms of your lease, you are, and by the terms of your lease, you're responsible for double the rent if you don't leave. All right? So the bottom line is this. I want you guys to raise your hand if you knew all this stuff as a tenant or as a landlord. If you knew all this stuff. No. So most landlords are not educated, and tenants obviously are not educated on the laws. They just rent. right? Both parties, they just rent. Until one person finds out about the law and says, you can't do this, you can't do that. All right, and I gave you guys that story already. My first tenant, right, was a horror story. She was a professional renter. She knew all the rules. I didn't. She knew I was green in the business. I didn't know she was a professional in the business. She was a veteran. Yeah. Okay. So most people do not know this stuff at all. All right, let's see. 40 minutes. 40 minutes. 40 minutes. Can we do another chapter? Yes, no, maybe? Huh? You want to say yes? You're gonna go?
Yeah.
That's funny. Only 15 pages.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's like a review. It's really fast.
Yeah, not really on this one.
No? Alright, you know better.
Yeah. Alright, so we're gonna do, let's see, a whole chapter in 40 minutes. Yeah, we can do it. Not a whole chapter. I wanted to focus on math tomorrow. All right, we got it. All right, so we'll do this tomorrow. It's chapter 30. We'll do it tomorrow and math. Okay? But I want you guys, do me a favor, please, so we don't waste time tomorrow. Please be on time, ready to scan. Not with your cameras off and showing up with appointments later, or, you know, wandering around the house and driving, Eduardo. Okay? Please try to be in place. Okay? That's all I'm going to ask for. And this way we can... wrong class, bro. True. Brendan, not a break. We're breaking until tomorrow. That's it. That's what we're doing right now. All right, guys. So we are done with this chapter. Guys, one more thing I want to say. If you haven't done... Who has done the practice test already? Just one person?
Two. No.
No, she sends me a message.
I figured out today.
I'm trying to do the test. I'm like, okay.
You've tried? Yeah.
4 days have gone by.
No, I couldn't because it's a Mac. I have a Mac.
Okay, and I told you if it doesn't work, I'll give you a different link.
What's the problem?
All right, Josh, I've been studying the Quizlet and the chapter quizzes. Would that say that's the most efficient way to study? Unfortunately, Josh, for everybody's excuse me. Unfortunately, Josh, for everybody's different. For some people, Quizlet is more than enough by itself. For some people, listening is more than enough. I still recommend you do the practice exam because that's like a simulation of the actual exam. All right. So at this point is what I would ask you to do. That's why I gave you guys the password last week for you to give it a try. If it's a Mac, okay, I might have to give you a different link just for Mac. Okay? I hate it that I have to do things different for people that are Mac users.
You're in the United States.
Yeah, and we got Windows. So anyway, if you cannot get to it, make sure you send me a message on WhatsApp and I'll give you a link. Sorry. Good? All right. Guys, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Study. Take the next couple hours or maybe in the morning to try to practice exams so you can ask questions, okay? Have a good night. Thank you.